Zooey Mama, I'm here to talk about Hercules, who is the newest card coming to Marvel Snap, and whether I think he is worth buying or he might be a bust and you should save your resources for a different card. So Hercules is coming out January 29th. He's going to be a 4-cost, 6-powered card with the ability that the first time another card moves here each turn, move it to another location. Now, just to add some clarification, this can be your own card or this can be your opponent's card. Okay, if you have Hercules down and your opponent moves Vision into that lane, Hercules will kick that Vision out to a different location, but it only triggers once per turn. So if we go back to that same scenario and your opponent moves Vision in, Hercules will kick Vision out, but then if you move something like Nightcrawler in, Hercules will not move Nightcrawler. Okay, he just triggers once per turn regardless of which card it is. Now, before I go into my deck example that I'll be using with Hercules and give my final rating, I do want to say he's coming in Spotlight caches with Howard the Duck and Werewolf by Night. And this is okay. Werewolf by Night used to be arguably the best card in the game, but he was nerfed to cost 4, and that was a pretty big nerf. Okay, so he's still a decent card, but he's kind of whatever now, not necessarily needed. And Howard the Duck has always been pretty niche and weak. He basically just works with Iron Lad, but Iron Lad doesn't necessarily need him. So it is a pretty weak Spotlight cache. And Hercules is a full 6,000 tokens. He is Series 5. So he's kind of expensive to go after. And again, if you don't have Howard and Werewolf, maybe it's worth it if you want those cards, but they're just not amazing, okay? But if you do want these variants, it is kind of a cool Howard variant with the Infinity Gauntlet. You may want to go for it, but I'd say it's a bit of a weaker Spotlight cache. Now, to look at the deck that I'll be playing with Hercules, I've actually modified the old classic Silky Smooth deck list. We've had some changes since then. Angela Kitty Pride combo is no longer going to do it. But I'm teaming up Hercules with Zabu to potentially get Hercules out on turn 3. And if you do get Kraven down, say on turn 4, alongside Silk or Jeff or Nightcrawler moving over, it's possible that you can just trigger Kraven a bunch of times. Okay, it's possible that you move a card into Kraven's lane, and if you did have Hercules on that lane, Hercules would move it back out. Maybe you have Silk just bouncing all over the board back and forth. Just good answers, tech cards in here such as Mobius, Shang-Chi, and Enchantress. Okay, even with Kyera down, if we do have Zabu, we can Enchantress plus Shang-Chi on turn 6 if needed. And then Legion is just great for stealing some cubes. Legion makes some really big plays. We may have a new option in Kingpin as well. We did have the leaked patch that has Kingpin as a 2-cost card that will give -2 to cards that move there. So that wouldn't really fit into this deck if it gives -2 to your own cards, but that could be another potential synergy with Hercules. So again, I'm going to be trying out this deck list. I think it just has decent potential. The Silky Smooth, while not at the best place in the meta right now, it's always just a pretty strong deck. And so maybe adding some tech and counter options in there, like I mentioned, could actually make it kind of viable. And maybe Hercules has a place here. It is a bit hard to see where Hercules fits. You know, he is a 4-cost card. So just putting him in a standard move deck, I do think he's a bit too expensive for that. But something like this could be good. And again, I think I want to focus on the fact that you can move your opponent's card in. So even like Spider-Man here can work well with that. But he will push out your opponent's card or yours just once per turn. So to just skip forward to my final rating of Hercules, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I think he's horrible. Okay, I do think maybe he works with Zabu, like the deck I just showed, that possibly gets him out on turn 3. And I think he's pretty fun. It's going to be pretty cool to see cards bouncing back and forth all over the board. But he's not very flexible. He basically just works with move, or you need some kind of package like Stegron or Juggernaut if you want to be moving your opponent's cards, but very, very low flexibility. In terms of being competitive, I don't think it's there. And I think the biggest problem is his cost. Okay, he is a 4-cost card, and that is just expensive. Okay, cards that cost 3 or less, you can play in the first half of the game, you can play 2 of on turn 6 without needing some kind of energy cheat or discount like Zabu. cards that cost 4 or more, they're expensive cards, okay? It's a big commitment. And the fact of the matter is, Hercules does nothing when you play him. If you play Hercules on turn 4, nothing is happening that turn. He does not move any cards by himself. You need to first play Hercules, and then you need to play a second card to probably move a third card into Hercules' lane so he can move it out. But even then, he's just moving stuff. He doesn't necessarily add power to it. And if you might remember another 4-cost, 6-power card that synergizes with move that ended up being pretty dang bad, yeah, Spider-Man 2099. Okay, 4/6 is too expensive for a move package. Move decks are hindered by board space. They often run out of board space and then they can't move stuff around, and by card cost. Okay, you have all these cards that can move other cards, but you just do not have the energy to do it. So move as an archetype does not need another 4-cost card. It's not gonna work out. And like Hercules, he just triggers once a turn. That means if you play him on turn 4, he can move 1 card on turn 5 and 1 card on turn 6. So that kind of sucks. I mean, you paid 4 to just move 2 things on turns 5 and 6. You can pay 1 for Ghost Spider or Iron Fist or Nico, even 2 for Doctor Strange. Like, you don't need a 4-cost card to just move stuff twice. So I think he really is limited by the fact that he can only move 1 thing a turn. I do think if that gets changed at some point, it would make him a good amount better. I'm not sure he would actually be good, okay? And again, I'm giving him 1 out of 4 in competitive. I don't just think he's the worst card coming out in January. I just think he's horrible. I think he's an awful card. Definitely not worth 6,000 tokens. Okay, that's a big commitment. If you are going for spotlight caches, whether you need Howard and Werewolf or you just really want the variants, there's a chance you pick up Hercules. And if that happens, I don't think it's horrible. We did see Second Dinner buff Martyr and Gladiator just about a month after they got released. Okay, they were 2 week. They got very quick buffs. I would not be surprised if Hercules also gets a very quick buff. Whether that's more power, but honestly, I think he needs to be a 3-cost card. I think really that would be the best spot for him because, again, his ability is not doing anything. It needs a ton of synergy, not just move synergy, but synergy to move and power up. Okay, whether it's Kraven or Vulture or Human Torch, but those decks already kind of are hindered by needing specific combo pieces on specific turns. I don't think Hercules actually solves any problem for them. Okay, maybe he can make it get a bit bigger, but those decks don't need that. They need more consistency. So overall, I think Hercules is horrible currently because he is so niche and he's just too expensive. Okay, maybe he gets buffed at some point. Maybe there's some deck that kind of works with him, but I really don't see it, and I would be very surprised to see hype around this card. Okay, it seems like it's not there right now. It seems like people are pretty wary of it, and obviously myself included. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you think Hercules has some potential, maybe there's some awesome combo I'm missing, or you think will be really good once he's released. And until then, stay positive, and I'll see you next time.